MacBride Raptor Project is a nonprofit organization working with both the staff of the students of the University of Iowa and more recently Kirkwood Community College for more than 25 years. Students from Kirkwood's Veterinary Technician and Animal Health Technologies programs assist in the medical treatment of injured raptors. The MacBride Raptor Project is committed to the protection and preservation of Iowa's birds of prey, or raptors, as well as their natural habitat areas across the state of Iowa, through field research and educating the public about these awe-inspiring creatures. Kirkwood Community College is the home for the medical clinic for the Raptor Project. Students from Kirkwood's Veterinary Technician and Animal Health Technologies programs assist in the medical treatment of injured raptors under the direct supervision of veterinarian Dr. Eric Burrow and Raptor Center technician Jodine Cancel.
We will receive a call that somebody is found as sick or injured, hawk, owl, eagle, falcon, vulture, osprey in the area, and we make arrangements for them to bring the bird into us for a physical assessment here on the Kirkwood campus. We work with the students in the Animal Health Technologies program, and they help us do the assessment of the bird and try to determine what's wrong with it. Once we've figured out what's wrong with it, we may have to do surgery. So we may have to actually put a pin in the wing to allow the bones to mend correctly. Sometimes it's just a bandage that they need and some food.
How many birds do you get into the Raptor Center?
It depends on the time of year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially during the fall and the spring when they're migrating back and forth. The birds aren't from around here, so they're exploring new areas and more likely to get injured or something like that. So you see more in the fall and the spring. As far as numbers, on average.
Yeah, on average, I would say during West Nile we had about 190 come through, and currently we have average between 140 and 180 a year.
I know there was one point this winter, every single one of these cages was full, plus we had some extra. We
see a variety of injuries throughout the year. During the fall migration, we're seeing more of the exhausted cases, cases that are hit by cars. It also coincides with hunting season, so we see those that are accidentally shot. We see the lead poison cases coming through in the spring, baby bird season. So we're seeing lots and lots of baby birds with the high winds knocked out of their trees, and so we try to keep those out where they need to be. During the rest of the year, we see on average, I would say, hit by cars, power lines, tangled in fishing line, barbed wire fences. So really, those things are coming through. You just see a little bit of a variety or difference depending on the season.
Yeah, I imagine. So you mentioned lead poisoning. Is that a big issue? And lead poisoning coming from farm runoff, or how is that?
Anybody address lead poisoning? Let's see.
Especially for the eagles or any of the birds of prey that eat fish, because they'll use lead sinkers for fishing. Fish eat those, they eat the fish, and so they'll ingest the lead that way. Or also for the people who hunt deer and that sort of thing, either they shoot the deer and it gets away, or they do find the deer, they clean it and everything, but leave a gut pile, and that'll have little fragments of lead. And eagles and other birds of prey that eat carrion will go down there and eat it, and they get a bunch of lead in them. And it's actually big chunks. It's not just kind of trace elements of it leaching out. It's actual chunks of lead that they eat, and it gets stuck inside of them, and it builds up over time. And then once they get to the point that they have high levels of lead in their system, it can do brain damage. So that even after you get the lead out of their system, you can't reverse the damage that it's done.
What is the recovery rate on lead poisoning with birds?
Once it gets to the high level of lead, it's not
good.
It doesn't look really good for them.
These Kirkwood students are caring for an American kestrel, more commonly known as the sparrowhawk. This male kestrel, having just had surgery in the morning, is now ready to take food this afternoon. He's more than a little groggy as he takes his meal and needs a little bit of encouragement from his student caretakers. This large enclosure at the Lake MacBride property is the flight cage. The cage effectively allows raptors to build up their strength and reflexes after injury in an environment that assists in the transition from recovery to eventual release into the wild. With a length of 100 feet, the flight cage at the MacBride Nature Center is the largest facility of its kind in the state of Iowa. The MacBride Nature and Recreation Center is also home to various hawks, owls, falcons, and eagles. Because their injuries prevent them from sustaining themselves in the wild, these permanent residents are housed at the Nature Center and are cared for year-round by volunteers. One of the permanent residents is a great horned owl named Bubba. The Raptor Project inherited Bubba from the Beaver Park Zoo. This owl is over 35 years old. That's an age that most likely he would not have reached out in the wild. Birds of prey have served to inspire man throughout history. They are not only powerful symbols within the minds and psyches of people, nations, and cultures, but they are also important links in the world's ecosystem. Hawks, falcons, owls, and eagles help keep the natural balance in the wild. In previous decades, through the use of pesticides such as DDT and other farm chemicals, and the destruction of natural habitat, many of these birds were placed on the endangered species list. Raptors can be found throughout Iowa in a number of different habitats, from farmland to woodland to cityscapes. Through the continuing work of staff, volunteers, and students, the MacBride Raptor Project will help protect Iowa's raptors and help them to endure for generations to come.